Let's give a welcome to John and Megan.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, just so you know, we brought our own animals too. We brought all the kids with us, so that was wild. Hopefully everyone can hear me all right, and hopefully you can see the screen okay. I was away at work for like 2 weeks for the first time ever. As soon as we got back from our trip, that doesn't really happen. So we had one day to kind of put everything together. I'm sure it'll be fine. Everything's going to go well. So anyways, these are our lovely kids that you're looking at right now. Jasper, Elsie, Pepper, and Huxley. And we all went to Guatemala together. So there's a couple there. Here's us. This is Rocky and Karen Chupa. They have a ministry that they've been running out there since 2010. Our first time joining them out there was 2015 with the church on the missions trip, which there's another one coming up in February. If you have the means or you just have it in your heart, God will make the means happen. Get on board because it's amazing. And I mean, it might not change your life the way that it's changed ours, but it will in some way or another. It'll show you things about yourself. It'll open you up to all kinds of things that you never even knew that you cared about real deep. Or you're gonna cry about stuff that you never cried about. It's amazing when you say yes to God and you walk that path. It's amazing to see what He does. And these guys did it, and they're doing it full time. And they have a ministry down there called Compelling Love Ministries. They've decided that they were going to go into a community, so they're in northern Guatemala near a place called Chisec, and they wanted to see what is the local need and how can we facilitate that. So over the years, they've developed a piece of property. So they started out there just living in a little shack, kind of reaching out where they could, finding out and there's a village of Chisec that's got a few thousand, and then outside of that there's just villages and villages and villages, and they don't stop. We went to this one place one day and it showed a map of Chisec and all the villages, and we had no idea. They're everywhere. And Rocky and Karen have been to many of them, but they said they could stay there their entire lives and never touch everyone. And the need is just huge, right? So they're bringing Jesus to the area around Chisec, to as big an area as they can. And it's been very rewarding and very fulfilling. They've been able to buy a property over this time. They got 8 acres now. They've set up a facility for mothers with malnourished babies, which boomed. Like, it's been busy, but has only gotten busier. And then they had a bit of a lull during COVID, and they weren't sure what was going to happen with the building, and was it going to be able to get off the ground, because they don't receive financial funding at all through the government, even though they're a government-recognized facility that the hospital sends people to. So it's kind of a bit of a tricky thing that way. But anyways, they found out this year, I think they've already surpassed what they hit pre-COVID. I think they've already seen over 400 patients, which is pretty amazing, right? Like, talk about changing lives from the very beginning. And then, so the other things that have been on the heart are missions. Right from the beginning, before they ever had the property, they've been doing missions. And what missions really helps do down there is set up a need with a solution. So there's endless needs, right? So they'll find a village that needs something, let's say a school, and then they figure out Rocky. Like, there's the whole behind the scenes thing that we learned being with these guys. When you're there on a missions trip, you get to see it, and it's glowy, you know? Like, it's hard work, but it's not daily living and hard work. They take care of so much on the back end that you never even realize to make it quite pleasurable. So anyways, he finds the people, finds their need, figures it all out, works out the numbers to what the cost is going to be, finds a church that might be interested in helping to support that project, and send a missions team down. Missions team will come, they get the project started. There's a lot of, coming alongside the people in the village. It's not as if they don't know how to do it themselves, they do. It's more about just that communication and that connection and that God life together, right? Showing how we all care for each other and we're all God's children and we just all want to do this together, and creating those relationships. But then the teams go. And this project has just barely gotten off the ground. So a large part of what Rocky does and spends his time doing is finishing all these projects, right? So I mean, I guess obviously that's what happens, but I never really thought of it until I was actually there, and I was like, oh yeah, like we got footings done when we went in April for a new center, a new school and health center in a village. We got the footings done, and that was cool. But that's the very first step, right? There's so much more to do before it can be open and have people come in. So that's what he spends a lot of his time doing. And then the other facility they have there is where they call it the Rancho. It's a big grass hut. and it facilitates pastoral fellowships. We have pastors from all over the place, all over the region, whoever can come. They all meet there once a month, and we just pour into them and have meetings, and there's usually a lesson, and I was able to give the lesson when I was there, which was really neat. It definitely stretched me, but I'm glad I did it. And anyways, so then the other facility that they would have built, well, the missions team, they've built a missions housing on top of their house now. So before, the teams would stay at hotels wherever we could, and then there was all the shuttling back and forth all the time and figuring out how we're going to do meals and everything else. Now everyone, when you come as a mission, you stay on the property, which is really, really neat. And it just helps things kind of cohesive all together really nicely. And then they also built the vocational training facility, which is a 3-bay shop and very nice. And they're teaching local people how the skills of the trades. They're teaching welding, small engines, woodworking. And this is where a lot of like the fabrication of the trusses and stuff for all the buildings that we're building gets done. And it's really neat to see everything that they've done at the property. They're farming it now as well. They have over 500 pineapple plants as well as many other things that they farm the property with. This is us. Me and Megan and Robbie in the background there. 2015, the very beginning of what we didn't realize would be such a big adventure. And this was this year. So we've grown quite a bit. And you know, it's very different going with a family. It's very different going with a family. This is Karen, Lebanon Huxley. So the very first thing, I could say so much more about it. It's very different going with a family, but we'll get into it. Our car seat didn't make it. And it turned out that's not really a big deal in Guatemala. You have to change your perspective a little bit to be okay with that, but it wasn't a big deal at all. Actually, it was probably a blessing that we didn't have the car seat, because if he would have, it's a 6-hour drive. You get to the airport in Guatemala City, you're an hour getting out of town. It's only 300 kilometers to get where we were going. 6-hour drive. It's all up and down and single lane each way, and if you want to make any headway at all, you're passing on blind curves. It's crazy. You need a really good driver. Rocky is amazing at it, and we just put our faith in him and let it go. And this is part of putting the faith in it. Huxley sitting in the front seat there, not strapped in, no car seat, and he did great. And when he lost his mind, you just pass him around, and he found something new and fun and interesting to do. I couldn't have imagined doing it with him locked into the car seat. So here's a little aerial shot. This is Rocky and Karen's property now. When we came the first time, it was jungle. And this is all done by hand by local people. They look at the price of how much would it cost to get the machinery in here with a company and a crew and to do all this. And they take that money that it would cost and they're like, well, we could spend about the same and give employment to the local people for a good bit of time, so that's what they choose to do. So all these foundations, all these buildings, all the concrete is all done by hand, by local people. So that main building here is, I don't know if you see my mouse, everything might be small, but that's their residence where it says teams, is where they've built on top, and they can house 16 people up there, and it's all very roomy, 3 bathrooms. It's plush. It's quite nice and very comfortable. It's on the next slide. Teams. There it is. And so that's where we stayed. That's where we got to stay with our family for the time that we were there, which was plenty of room and flushing toilets where you can flush your toilet paper. Most of the toilets flush, but it's not built for that, right? Guatemala's not built for that, so they have a whole different system that you can get to know. But this is very comfortable for a Canadian first world people coming to want to do missions. There's a whole lot you got to get your head around. It's nice to have these kinds of comforts. Yeah, showers. Showers are nice too. And hot water to a point, like warm water, which is a luxury. They call it a widowmaker. It actually, the heat from the shower comes from an electrical current that the water passes through in the shower head. But we never got shocked, so just don't touch it. It was fine. And this is the rancho. This is the grass hut. It's actually quite a large building, and it was one of the first things that they developed on the property. And that's where, teams will do your nightly meetings and round tables and talk about the day. We'll do worship in there. We do meals in there all together. Many of us have been there together as a family, and when I went back, it's just those memories too, right, of us all being there together and getting to know people. This is where you get to know each other and who you are and what you're doing there and why you're all there together, and it's just an amazing, amazing experience. That's a bit of a different shot of the Rancho there. So this would be the pastors' conference that we got to be there for. Again, I gave the message. It was one of those things where like you have to have an interpreter, obviously, because I know a bit of Spanish, a little more than I did when I went, but not great. So Karen's daughter, Erin, is very good at doing the translation. So it was pretty neat. I stayed up, multiple nights later than I should have, trying to put something together. I was like, these are pastors coming from, and I'm this Canadian missionary that's down here. I need to have a real good message. But as it turns out, that's always kind of what I thought it looked like too, but that's not really the case, right? Like, I got a feeling that all those other people that you've seen come to speak and do these things that seem like big things, that like one day when I figure out my faith, I'm going to do that. I don't think they've got it all so much figured out. It's more about the faith part, right? It's more about the faith part. It's saying yes to that's what the whole word was this morning. It's like, you need to say yes. You can have the desire in your heart and like, it'll build you up and gets you going through the week and stuff, but eventually you need to do it because time just keeps on ticking, right? So if you have a calling, you need to do it. Anyways, this is the pastor's conference. They asked me to give the word. I was saying yes to everything down there because why wouldn't I? I'm there. So I said yes. And I decided to give the word on family, which ended up being pretty effective. And I had no idea that day was family day. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, we play some little games to kind of break the ice, get everyone into it. Bible selling there is a big thing. They always sell under cost. But they have so there's a local language, Mayan language that's Quechua, which is very unknown. You're not going to hear it anywhere but this one region of Guatemala. But they have found that there's now Bibles being printed in Quechua, and they make them available to the local village people. So when they come, they sell out of Bibles every time they put on one of these seminars. And as well as that, we were also giving them glasses. Glasses are hard to come by. So Megan and the kids were helping sort through all these different bags of glasses for a few days before the big event happened. And then we were able to hand out all the glasses. So just trying to bless them in as many different ways as possible. Megan and I did a song. We tried to do a couple, but we learned one real good one in Spanish. And they said we did pretty good, so that was flattering. The pastor of Rocky and Karen's church is a really amazing man named Estuardo, and he ended up being our Spanish teacher for the time that we were there. He and his wife, Blanquita, actually, she would handle the children because she does a lot of child's church anyways. And they were just so receptive and really warm and amazing people and super, super friendly. And he ended up being like everywhere that we went and everything that we did, it was Estuardo. Estuardo was there. Estuardo's family was there. And we just got really, really connected with them in such an amazing way. So part of that was learning our Spanish songs. We're like, I think we're doing it right. We're listening to the YouTube and saying what they're saying. But then as we got closer to the date, we found, so I got to say, with Estuardo, his English is okay, not great. Probably less than okay, but he can say enough that we have a little back and forth and we understand enough and there's gesturing that you can put things together. So we were able to say, hey, we're doing this song as part of our Spanish class. Can we come and sing it and practice it and you'll help us figure it all out? And that was very, very valuable. Not only did we get to sing in his big, beautiful church and hear the sound of it all, but just having them see, be able to work with us and learn the language with them. And, maybe instead of saying it like this, you should say it like this, and it makes it easier. And I was like, okay, we didn't know any of this, right? So
I'm just going to interject there about the worship. One of my favorite parts of the whole journey was being able to worship with people that didn't understand our language and to have the Spirit of God moving in all of us. And I would just be moved to tears or just feel the presence of the Lord come in that holy, powerful way and be able to be in camaraderie with them even though we couldn't speak. So that was really cool to be able to do that with the pastors there. A lot of the pastors there too, their churches, they're from all different kinds of churches, and so they worship much differently. So that was a faith thing too, to be able to flow the way that we normally flow. Like there was one wife there was one woman and she was seated at the back all by herself. It's just a very different way. So I just wanted to share that part.
Yeah, but I mean, really, really cool. Fun to hear them pray, and it's amazing. So that's us singing and praying. Yeah, that was the morning of me and my boy getting ready for the day. So next we'll talk about Restoration House a little bit. This is our other facility back off. Like, if you were staying in this other property, in this other house here, and you didn't know it was there, it's very private and secluded from the rest of the facilities, which is quite nice, because you can imagine the people in the state of mind when they come to a place like that, right? So it's nice that they've thought of everything. They've thought of where it needs to be, how it needs to be. It's fully staffed all the time, 24 hours a day, and they're just changing lives, like, all the time. So you might recognize a few of these guys sitting down in the front here. This is when the team went in April. So one of the, Rocky and Karen, like I say, they're always doing stuff. And so they were gifted some money, and they were trying to figure out how best they could use it for the grounds. And one of the big problems they have down there is reliability of power. Brownouts happen, and they happen quite frequently, and they're very inconvenient, and they burn out your appliances. And, you know, when you're having, like, let's say, life-assisting equipment on your property, you can't really be having stuff like brownouts and power issues and everything else. So they sent out a newsletter saying that they were wondering about what they could do with the money, and here's a few different ideas, and one of them was solar. And it was just kind of neat that I had woken up from a dream like that day that I dreamt that they put solar power on the property. And I was like, I got to tell them that they need to do the solar. So I did, and it ended up, everyone else had agreed that solar was probably a really good idea, so they ended up doing the solar. But we definitely weren't going to be there in time to help with it at all, because it was going to happen way before we went. But then there was some holdups, and it ended up happening exactly when we were there. So I got to help install the solar on the property, which was really, really fun, and hot and hard. But as many great things are, right? It was still fun. So this guy here, Bill Strickland, he's an older vet, and he just keeps on going, man. He is smart, he's funny, he's charismatic, and he gets stuff done. Him and his wife are quite the team. So this is Rocky here, and we're setting the first few panels in place up on a tin roof in like 35-degree weather. So watch your knees. Yeah, this is Jasper and Nivea, Bill's wife. Preparing all the brackets, which are another thing that you didn't really consider has to be done, but there was a couple hundred of these brackets that they had to assemble before we could go up there and install the solar panels. It's me and a few of the guys. So Rocky has some full-time employment for a few different people on the property. You might not know with how beautiful the property looks, but if they don't touch it, the jungle just takes it over. Like, it's fast. So everything's always growing. So these guys are constantly hacking back the jungle and burning stuff, and just taking care of things and getting rid of the sick plants and helping propagate new stuff. And they're just busy all the time, and they're really fun and awesome dudes and hardworking guys. And this is it all done. We ended up doing 48 solar panels, and within the next day, we were on solar. It was crazy. There's still a few little bugs to get worked out. Obviously, with anything new, it takes a bit of work and process to figure out how to program it all, but it works, and they have power when others don't, which is really, really special and cool and quite a luxury for them. So, no, this powers the entire property, the whole property. Yeah, they get enough power for everything that they need to do across the entire property, which is really neat. Like, they got 24-volt power in the shop and stuff, and it runs it, right? So. Really, really cool.
All of the air conditioners. There's a lot of air conditioners.
Air conditioners, yeah.
All run.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing, right, that they were able to do that. So now the vocational center. This is the shop that I was able to spend quite a bit of time in, getting little projects going. And again, they do woodworking, small engine repair, and welding. And this is where a lot of the preparation for these projects, like this, is taking place. So this is a place called La Bendición, the blessing, which is pretty cool. And it's way out in the middle of nowhere, past this huge palm plantain. And then you go between like the valley of a few mountains for another, 10, 20 minutes down a gravel road, and then you get to La Bendición. And that first picture here in the upper left corner is their current school that the kids are still learning in. And the cinder block building beside it is the beginnings of the new building. So the last missions team that had come before us had started this project. And it just keeps going and going. So as we were there, just so you know, we got there late January, came home early March. So a good chunk of time. We were there about 40 days. So we were able to see some of this stuff come together day after day. So again, Rocky, I would say, is trying to be more of a facilitator of the projects, meeting the people with the work and having the funds to make it all happen. He doesn't do so much of the manual labor as much as he can avoid it, because he wants these people to learn the skills to be able to then employ themselves and do it again and again, right? So, but that doesn't mean he's not there all the time checking in and making sure things are going as they should be and they're on schedule because we ordered this and this needs to get here by this date so that that can be done because I got this guy coming. So he does a whole lot of orchestration that you never would have thought of. But while we were there, they were able to get the roof up on it, and then I got to take part in pouring the floor, which, like all concrete work in Guatemala, we are fortunate to have a gas-powered mixer. Everything else is by hand, wheelbarrows and wheelbarrows and wheelbarrows. So, but it's fun, right? It's hard work, but it's always fun, and the guys have fun, and everybody in the village is happy that you're there and helping out and doing what you can, and they love the couple little words that you learn to be able to say, hey, how's it going? And it's just camaraderie, right? And just teamwork and working together to build something for the future of their village, which is really, really cool to be able to have even a small hand in that. This would be another little project that we did. They're nonstop, all the time. There is more work than they will ever be able to do. And that Rocky morning to night. Like, these guys are up at 6 in the morning till, 9, 10 at night, every day, making the lives of the local people better. Like, how cool, right? In all these different ways. So this guy his family needed a new house. The village got together, decided, yep, this is something that needs to be done. These are great people. We want to be able to bless them. So somebody else provided the funds, and we came and started doing the work. So we're digging out these footings by hand with little picks. And here's Jasper here working hard. And then you line the bottom of your trench with rocks, and that's kind of your foundation for the footing. And then you form it up, and you pour cement in. And that's what we got done that day. And the rest of the project started moving forward with the locals that Rocky had hired to keep that going. But that was really exciting. I was moving a pile of rocks. We did a bit of a Facebook thing. We tried to keep it updated as much as we could. The Coles Family 2024, if you want to look at it after and see, there's videos and stuff on there. I was pulling rocks out to throw them in these little ditches, and I pull a rock, and there's a giant tarantula that came crawling out. Like, there's wildlife down there that you don't have here, and sometimes it's exciting and not where you expect to find it. So another big part of what Rocky and Karen do down there also is the sponsorship program and helping out with the local Christian school. The school and the facilities itself are gorgeous, and it was all built by these Korean missionaries that are down there full time, and cool people. It seems like there was a core group of people for all this different stuff that we did all over the place that you would see every time you went to do something. They're there. It's like a family, right? Like, we were only there a month, and we got to know even these Koreans. We got to know them very well, where we're hugging and asking about your day, and found out they're from the U.S., and they ended up moving down there, years back, and they found the need as well, and their heart was for schools, and so they built schools, they built churches, and now Rocky and Karen and the local other local communities as well are able to come together and keep something like this going, which the sponsorship program is a big way. Our church takes a big part of this as well, where we're able to, help kids to have a better education under faith and learning about Jesus, and improving their lives as well nutritionally. The clothing, like, your small donation goes a lot further than you realize. It's not even enough for how much the organization is actually spending to get the kids going, but it's something, right? So it's helping. But they're putting shoes on their feet, they're getting them their clothing, they're making sure they have proper nutrition. And it's just such a when you go to a place like this and you see the kids, when you're there for devotion in the morning, there's nothing like seeing 400 kids and just hearing them belt out these worship songs first thing in the morning. What a way to start your day. We got to do that as the group. And it's just like, it jazzes you up. Like, they scream the lyrics, you know? Like, that's worship. And they're just so thankful. And this is our superstar, Huxley. He didn't matter where we went, what we were doing, everybody loved Huxley. There's this word in Spanish that means fatty or fatso, but it's endearing,
Gordo.
however they say it.
Gordo.
But he was famous. I don't know if it made it into the slideshow, but early on there's this tuk-tuk. So they're cabs, is it? So their cabs are these little three-wheel scooter things that they take tremendous amounts of people and stuff on, and the tires are about this big, and there's 3 of them, and they go anywhere with anything. Anyways, this one guy pulls over the one day, and he wanted a picture with the baby, and we're like, oh, okay. Which is still a little bit weird because it's a stranger. He just took the baby and then went into his tuk-tuk. We're like,
For a
But
picture.
it's
yeah,
such a
to get a
different-
picture with the baby. Yeah.
yeah, it's such a different culture down there. They're not going to take my baby, right? They want a picture. And so it was like, yeah, sure, that's cool. Anyways, like a week or 2 goes
Not cool.
by, and we're on a back road somewhere, just walking around, doing home visits. And the tuk-tuk pulls up and then drives back and parks. It's this same guy, and he had brought his wife this time. Because obviously he had told her about the fat white baby, that you got to see this fat white baby. So then she had to come out and get pictures with him. And yeah, the guy was a superstar, amazing for breaking the ice. A lot of people were, fairly concerned, and rightly so, about taking such a young family into Guatemala, and what about this, and what about have you thought? But the experience that you get when you bring your family, like, it's one thing to be a single white grown man to go out and reach out, and you can get to a certain place quickly, but it takes time to develop relationships and break the ice. And when you bring a family in, that just happens so much quicker, and you can just get right to the heart. And it's really, really cool to see how effective our kids are able to be down there, just being themselves. So this is Erin. She's the one I mentioned. She's Karen's daughter, and they have a family of 4 as well, a bunch of boys. And they're all close enough in age with our kids that they were great companions for them, and they speak Spanish as well as English. So we were able to do a lot of the translation when we would have the kids go to the school, which they did. You can see here, we're taking part. It's probably soccer. It's always soccer. And it would have been fine for our kids to just get involved with the Spanish class and go out and play with the kids, but having English speakers that they were able to come alongside and be friends with, and now they're able to communicate what they're feeling to the people around them with a friend, right? So that was super special and really helpful for us along our way. As part of the sponsorship program, we happen to have 3 kids down there that we sponsor, and I went in April and had the blessing of getting to visit the kids. And I told them, I was like, I'm bringing my family, you're going to meet everybody. And I don't know if they believe me or not, because are you going to bring your family to Guatemala? Yeah, sure. But we did, right? We did. So it was really, really cool to be able to introduce the family to everyone. And just like, what a blessing again. And just to see how people receive you and your family, and they pray for us. Like, you don't think about this stuff, but when you sponsor a child, you make a huge difference. Like, for us, it's a few bucks, and it makes you feel good inside that you're helping somebody. But they know your name. They pray for you. They are excited that you're there to visit. I mean, we always try to bring a little something. We brought a little care package, but that's secondary. Like, that's so secondary. They just love that you care enough to ask them about their lives and how it's like, and what's going well, and what are your struggles, and it's
John does this thing where he brings photos back from previous trips, and they don't really have printed photos of themselves at all. So they love that. And we got to go and see the kids that we have. They had them by their beds, right? The picture of, was it them and you before?
And
I
us.
think.
I
Yeah.
had
And
printed off
pictures of our families
family.
too. That they sleep with them and pray for us. So yeah, you get a huge, huge blessing when you sponsor our family.
Yeah. So this little guy, his name's Edson, and he's 10, and he's awesome. He's the cutest person. He's the best smile. I made a joke about wanting to take him home, and he thought that like we were taking him away. Don't do that. Yeah. But anyways, just amazing, amazing people. So here's another one. This little girl here, her name's Saida, and she's amazing. And she comes from a bigger family, and they just live in this. This is their house, a little wooden house, dirt floor, up in the middle of nowhere. They have days that they have to take off school because they're water days. So all day they're going down to the water source when it's on, because it's not on all the time, to fill up whatever you can to bring water back to your house so that you have it for the week, right? So
Can I
some
just
of these,
share a little bit about
yeah.
Saida too? So I'm just going to make a plug for Saida. So she is from a large family. She has some older siblings. Every family is different, but this family, it's not. It's very common to not value an education and to want your older kids to go out and start peddling things or making money in the fields or however you can. And so I think it's been hard for their family because that's what her father's desire is for them to go help make money instead of invest the time in school. And so she's the first one out of her kids that is really pushing to be able to go to school. And she, I asked her what her favorite thing to do is, and she has a Bible very well read, and she showed me her favorite verses. She says, I just like to read the Bible. So I just wanted to share her story because I would love, I think one thing that makes it hard for their family, for her father's support, to support the idea to go to school is the transit. Do you remember what that is? She has to, does she take a tuk-tuk? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she takes a tuk-tuk to school. So I just wanted to mention that if anybody is looking for an area where you can support what Rocky and Karen are doing, there are so many kids who still are looking for sponsorships, but Saida's family, we wanted to mention them because if we can pull together some funds where we can pay for a tuk-tuk, that is something that a family has done before, then it's going to be a lot easier for her father to let that go without it being an investment that they have to spend for the family. So.
Yeah, and with that said, like her dad, didn't get a proper education, obviously, and so he's out peddling prescription drugs. And they're not even like, he's not a dealer or a retailer of some drug company. These are just drugs that have been left over from somewhere or given to him somewhere, and he just goes around and even expired stuff, right? And he just takes it around on a tray and tries to sell what he can to make a few bucks a day. You would think, wouldn't education help with your kids in the future so they're not, obviously this isn't working for you. Why do you want this for the kids? But it's that whole, you're up against it. You need the money for the food, and everything has gotten so much more expensive down there. Even in the time that since 2015, like, I don't know how they are able to survive on what they have unless you grow and raise your own food. Like, it's gotten to the point that it used to be a place that we would go down there and you could lavish and give, but it doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. So the idea of staying in school and getting a better paying job, and this is something that we really dream of for her. And when you're talking about the tuk-tuk for her dad, it is a hindrance. Let's say it's $5Q a day, or each way, which it probably is. But to us, what is that, $1.30? Like, it's a small change that could end up drastically changing the future of this girl. So there's always little things that you can do that'll just change the way people live and change the future for them. But that isn't to say they're not happy either, right? Yes, it's a wood house. Yes, it's a dirt floor. But I heard something not long ago that poverty isn't a lack. Poverty is not having an appreciation for what you have, right? So, and these people, as much as it's like, wow, dirt floor, I don't know, like, oh, how could they possibly? And the animals running around in the house, and is this sanitary? Yeah, maybe some of that stuff does need to get looked at, but it doesn't mean they're not happy and full of love and full of faith. And like, look at the smiles, right? Like, they are a happy people. They're a close culture too. Kids and parents, and like, when you are all in one box and my bed is here and your bed is here, you're close. You are a close-knit people. And not only your family, but your aunt is over there and your uncle is down the road, and like, everyone is related. And it's just really, really cool to see the community. Even that one footing project that we did, I had met a boy days before at his cousin's house. And then it ended up when I went to visit one of our sponsor kids, I recognized the face of this one kid, and he's like, oh, that was my other cousin. This is my other cousin. I was like, oh, so everybody's just related to everybody. And this is Elizabeth and her mom. And it's it's really neat. Like, you get the piece of paper when you sponsor a child and you learn about their story a little bit, but to see how they live, and to talk to them and to understand, like, her mom, like, her mother is an amazing lady, and she's like going through nursing, and she does make decent money, but she's on her own, and that's hard, especially in a country like this, to not have a male to run the household and to lead she looked on differently, right? Trying to have the same authority as the house leader. there are struggles that you don't realize. So she is super, super grateful, and she's raising an amazing kid, and this girl's going to go far. And we're just so happy to be able to be a small part in that. And she made really, really good plantain juice. We drank a lot of weird stuff down there. And when they give you something, you have to say yes to be polite, right? And sometimes it's like peanut water with like ground up peanuts and boiled and cooled, and it's okay, but and then there's a corn one, and it's not even like a sweet corn. I'm pretty sure it's like a cattle corn, and they just put it on their fire and boil it and boil it and boil it, and then you're drinking it, and there's chunks in it, and this, thank you, right? Like, thanks so much. But it's the heart of the whole thing, right? Whether it's good or not, they're giving you the best they have, right? And so you're always grateful. And even our kids did a great job at that. Imagine giving a kid a cup of corn stuff and be like, please don't embarrass me in front of these people. And they did very well. They did very well. So a big part of our time was spent with our Spanish teacher and doing our Spanish lessons, as I mentioned. And this is them. This is their family. They got 2 little kids of their own. And they were amazing. We started off very basic, learning our numbers, learning the letters, and then just I sleep, I eat, I dance, I walk, you know? And it was all actually really useful. I was like, can we get to like conversations? Because I'm only here for 40 days and I need to be able to talk to people. But you do need to know that stuff so you can properly conjugate and everything, or people are gonna not know what you're trying to say. But then we created that whole relationship that I was talking about where, so this is a take-home project that Megan and Jasper are working on where we had to draw our house and draw our rooms and all Spanish, right? Say what was in it. This is the bed, this is the table, these are the chairs. And then we presented it in class, which is really fun. And then we all got to know each other a little more, and we went on an adventure together that I think is in here, and I'll get to in a little bit. But if you see Elsie and the look on her face, that's because this is a fish. It's a whole fish with face and eyes and teeth, and that was our dinner, and it's ready to eat. So that was different for us. But my goodness, was it not the best fish I ever had. Like, I'm not just saying that either. It was the best fish. And the kids all ate it up, and you just use your fingers, and you watch out for bones, and it was fun. It was an experience. The next picture beside it is just a shot of the market. Oh, I didn't know you guys couldn't see that the whole time I was talking about it. There's the fish. I got a little presenter thing on this. Okay. But yeah, so then this is the market, part of the market, and this is where you get your meat. And it's sanitary, I don't know, but the meat is good, so that's how they do it. This is one of the best parts about being there, right? Fresh produce every day. One of the best parts once you figure it out, because it is ripened on the vine. That means you buy it in the morning, you eat it at night, maybe you can eat it the next day, and then it's done. Then it's done. So we're trying to we're spending so much time just living while we were there, just figuring out how to do things with our family. Like our regular day is crazy, busy. 4 kids, right? At home all day. It's busy. So now to try and do reach out stuff and do missionary work, it was getting frustrated where I was like, I'm not being effective. So then one of the things that we decided we're gonna do is okay, we're meal planning. We're not going shopping every day. So we bought a week's worth of food all up front. We're like, okay, now we can put that to the side. We're gonna do something else. The next day we find out half of it's rotten. I'm like, okay, that's not gonna work. But just the most delicious food. And if one thing is still reasonably priced, it would be produce. You can get produce down there for a very reasonable price, and it's the best stuff you're ever going to eat. It's all natural, right? Organic, and locally grown for the most part, if not right there in the area. And look at the size of that carrot. They have amazing produce. And there's fruits that we had never heard of before that we were hoping to try, but it never worked out. Anyways. Here's some shots of our kiddos. Elsie mowing down on some corn. So we had... we were very fortunate with our church really came together too, all you guys that were involved in helping get us out there, and the funding so when we said yes, right? And I just took whatever money we had and we made it happen. And we're like, what are we gonna do when we get back? We're like, I don't know, but this is the yes, so this is it, right? And then everyone came together, and we ended up finding not only did we have enough funds while we were down there to live, but we were able to hire some help, which really changed the game. Because Megan, like she does at home, spends all day with the kids, right? And that is a full-time job. So to be able to have help to come alongside us, it just changed everything. It freed us up to do more stuff. And not only that, but we ended up doing more things that we wouldn't have done without her. Norma, she was this amazing lady. The kids fell in love with her. And we ended up, we would go places together. We went to the market with her, and she caught somebody ripping us off one day. And she's like, wait a second, that's not what, like, this girl is awesome. And then, so we got to know her family quite well, which is huge. I think she's got 8 siblings or something. And so they were everywhere that we would go. We went to this, oh, so the person running that store is my sister's husband. The person that does the cave adventures, that's my dad. It was like, wow, right? So they invited us in the one night, and I think this is Huxley drinking some of that corn drink, and Elsie mowing down some corn. Really super friendly. Anyone will open up their house to you anytime. Did you want to mention this, babe?
Oh, so these latest photos are all just explaining our big mission down there wasn't necessarily so much to start a foundation or build a school. Rocky and Karen were looking for someone, a family or a couple that could invest the time to learn how to live there. So this is the learning the life parts. This is the stuff where we had to just trust and say, okay, can we bring a family of 6 down there and learn how to function that way? And so Rocky and Karen were super gracious about that and really wise in how they set up they had planned Spanish lessons and a couple of options for us, but the rest of it was, can you just see what this is like to live here with your family? And they expected us to run into all of these issues. So this is just a picture of the sink this is called a pila. And so this is how you wash dishes. So like, I'm just showing, even washing dishes is a really different adventure for a mom with a large family. So there's another shot, it's kind of hiding, I think, but like laundry. I learned how to do laundry on the line, but we had to make it to devotions by 7:30 in the morning. So that means I had to get the laundry in the machine at 6 o'clock in the morning at the building at the back of the property. And then Jasper could kind of go get it and bring it here. And the kids, if I got them ready on time, could all hang it on the line while we finished that. And then we could get to devotions. But then we had to get back so that everything came off the line before the heat of the day was gone. So like a large part of our learning and our journey was Karen standing here, being available for me, what you need as a mom. And then there was the day when she said, I think you need help. and so we had the relationship that she was able to find us, Norma. And that was how God provided, not just finances, but like, okay, God, I feel like you really are asking us to go do this journey and to say yes in this crazy place. I believe you'll give me the strength, but waking up every morning being like, how am I going to figure this out? This is my whole day is doing laundry and dishes. And so, yeah, that's just another way that God provided for us, was giving us the help and the strength to learn how to do everything different, literally everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is, just a small part of it. So obviously, Guatemala, everything is alive 24 hours a day, every day of the year. If it rains, bugs, insects, spiders, anything that you can think of is wanting to find somewhere where it's not wet and it's coming inside. And another reason they would come inside is food. So, I mean, we're fairly clean people. I'm sure like most of you are. You had to sweep and mop every day, wherever you ate. So if we were out in the rancho, that giant place where you saw it, we would have to sweep, mop, get rid of all the food. Or the chickens would be in there. And if the chickens poop on the floor, then Huxley can't crawl or something, it's all these little things that you're like, wow,
Imagine feeding a baby in a high chair who's just learning to eat and then having to wipe everything down in case the ants come when we go because we're leaving in 10 minutes. Like that kind of thing. That was what we were doing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to learn. We're big bath people. I love a good bath. I built myself a nice bath. No baths there. So this is Huxley having a little morning bath in a big tub. Which works, right? You just find ways to do things. And it's part of the adventure. This is just a little fun. I don't know if you guys know, lime trees are the thorniest trees you've ever seen. And they're not just like weak little thorns, like it's you rub against it and it sticks in your skin. No, your skin comes off on the thorn. Like, they're serious. And Rocky had just off the cuff mentioned, oh, because I'm a landscaper by trade, right? So he's like, oh, if you don't mind while you're here, you could prune up the lime trees. I was like, yeah, for sure, man. And I get into it, and by the time I was done, I looked like I got attacked by a cougar. I was bleeding and scratched everywhere, but it smelled amazing. Every time you pruned a branch, just, like, amazing. But anyways, that was just one of the small things I was able to do, and it was kind of fun, but it wasn't without trial. Huxley, sleeping all over the place. So during Spanish lessons, the pastor had a couple girls staying there, nieces, and they would help take care of the baby. And so they would get him sleeping whenever they could, and this is him sleeping in their giant bed. We found out how he could sleep in the hammock, which is really fun. That's what they do with their babies down there, by the way. There's not like playpens and stuff, or even strollers for that matter. So if you're at home, the baby goes in a hammock on a nail, and you just kind of push him, right? If you're out in public, he goes on a mini hammock on your head. And he's just hanging behind you. Yeah, different, right? But it works.
It doesn't work for me. Huxley is very, very big.
You didn't even try it.
I didn't try. So thus, I think of the next slide. Exactly. Not going to start at 18 months.
Yeah, more pictures of Huxley sleeping all over. This is Norma here, that first picture. She was a godsend. And this is kind of cool. Not that anyone would know, but my old Facebook profile picture forever and ever was a picture of Megan and I, our first time in Guatemala. I said it probably 2015. So we were able to go out to the village, Las Vegas, which some of us have been to, maybe more than once. But we didn't have a translator able to come with us. We have a good friend there, Nixon, which, again, some of you will know. He was our translator the first time we went down. His English is very good. And he also does Spanish and a little bit of Quechua. But he was unavailable. So this is the adventure day where we asked our pastor, hey, because he speaks like the tiniest bit of English, but he can do Spanish and some Quechua. Would you mind coming with us on this road trip to the village? He's like, yeah, for sure. Can I bring the family? And we're like, yeah, for sure. That sounds awesome. So we had him, and then Norma as well agreed to come along with us. So then our little gang decided we're going out to the village to see the people of Las Vegas. So I'll get into the Las Vegas story if I got a couple minutes, but this happens to be, we had to pull over on the way back to let somebody by, and as we stopped there, I noticed this is exactly where we took that first picture. So we have a picture again in the exact same spot, like 9 years later, which is kind of fun for us. Another picture of Norma. This is everyone just getting ready before one of the children's church days. This was a big thing. So
This is just us dealing with heat. We bribed our children with a lot of ice cream all the time, around every corner, ice cream.
Ice cream's like cash. Yeah. It was really, and it's crazy. Like, they have ice cream, these little ice cream boxes everywhere. You're driving through a place with like no power. Well, there's a little bit of power and there's a freezer plugged in and there's ice cream in there. Like, I don't know why, but I'm so grateful for it because anywhere you go, you could get an ice cream. So that was very, very nice. So this would be, oh no, you can't see that. This is our mode of transportation. For the most part, you ride in the back of the truck if there's not enough room. And sometimes there'd be 15, 20 people in the back of the truck. Not ours necessarily, but you would see it around town. And this would be the day that we decided to go out to the village and say hi to everybody. What we did not know is, like, the roads are bad there. All the roads are just bad. Some are worse than others. But this road that went by the school continued on out to the village. And it was super bad. But the day that we decided we're going to go out to the village is the day they decided to fix it. So we're like on our way, starting our adventure first thing in the morning, and there's a big backhoe, and the road is gone. It's dug right up. We're like, well, it's not like there's a detour or another. This is the road, right? So that was it. We're like, well, what are we gonna do now? And Estuardo's like, oh no, they'll be done like half an hour. I'm like, oh, okay. So we went and got some lunch, and we just pulled over at a nice shady spot, and we all had a meal together. And then sure enough, maybe half an hour later, the road was ready. Not that it was done. It was still not a great road, but we could at least get through. So that was neat. This next picture here, some of us might recognize that guy if you can see him. That's Romero. That's not, though. There he is. He happens to be the leader of the village of Las Vegas. he got himself a tuk-tuk, and that's how he's providing some additional money for himself and his family. And just such a sweet, sweet dude. And as soon as he found out that we were out there, he was asking about Pastor Brent. He was wondering, oh, is everyone here? We're like, no, it's just us, but can we come? And they were very happy to receive us. So that was really, really fun. This would be one of the children's church nights, which we did quite often. The kids found this to be much more to their taste than the regular church that Estuardo has, because his church is crazy loud. I don't know what it is about South America, but in order for your worship for God to hear it, it's got to be like ridiculously loud. And that's just part of the culture. And Rocky and Karen have a hard time with it. They wear earplugs when they go to church. They say that is the one thing that, like, the message is amazing. They do all this dance routines and everything too, and it's just beautiful to watch. But the volume, you could stand 5 blocks away and hear every word of it if it's not distorted beyond comprehension. But that's just the way they do it. So the kids' church we found to be much more to our taste. We still sang and danced and had a great time, but you could actually be in the building, which was good. A few other things that we learned about just day-to-day living life in Las Vegas, in Guatemala in general. If you want things, there isn't really a grocery store. There's sort of one now, but there's all the different retailers of the different things, like our towns used to be, right? Where you could just go down the main street. And so this is us. We needed feed for the chickens one day. So you go to the chicken feed lady. She scoops out a bunch of your corn. You go to the next guy, get it all milled up. Now you got your chicken feed. The garbage truck obviously doesn't come around. So on your way into town, you drive by the dump. For us, it was every other day. So these vultures, it's always full of vultures. And it's I don't know how much to say about the dump and everything, but it's a bit of a sad place. There's people that decide that I don't know if they can't get employment or if they're just find this more appealing somehow, but they just are at the dump from start to finish every day. When a vehicle pulls up, you can hardly get out of your vehicle to throw the bags out before them or their kids are jumping up in the back of your truck, pulling out the garbage bags to see maybe there's something in there they can sell, right? Like, that's tough. That's tough to see, especially when you're going there with your kids. You're like, I could never imagine. Not like the filth of it all to begin with, right? But then like this is the hope of your life. Like, my parent is doing this. Is this what I do? It's hard. It's hard to see how different things can be. And everything's on fire. They burn it all. And when it rains, it's all mud. And yeah, it's not just a truck comes along and gets your garbage and away it goes. It's a whole other thing. So this was kind of, this guy here holding Huxley, that's the tuk-tuk driver. Super, right? Friendly enough guy. You can sure take my baby for a picture. Megan wasn't so keen. But this other picture here to the right. So again, when you needed anything, there's not really the supermarket. You go to each individual. So this is the bakery, right? We needed some buns, so we went to the bakery. And we might have been there 10 minutes. And using as best our Spanish as we could to try to order the things that we wanted. And then we started seeing other people come. Actually, there was a couple to start with, and we're like, are they in line? Are they not in line? Like, we're trying to figure out and don't know how to really ask. But then more and more people started coming while we were there, and we're like, this place is hopping. We come to find out they're all just there to watch us buy our bread. Yeah. All these people in the back, they just wanted to see the white family. That was the remainder
of the crowd. There was, like, out through the street, there were people lined up to see us. It was the first couple of days, and they were excited about the white family in town. All the kiddos.
It kind of takes you back a little bit. Like, you don't know what to do. I don't have a song and dance or anything. Like, but yeah. But just to say hi and they all have cell phones now, which is a big change from 2015 also. Like, everyone's got a cell phone. So they're all taking pictures and everything. But it goes back to the photos thing. Like, yeah, they got some technology, and it's weird to see the way that, the 2024 has intersected with the roots of what we've seen in the past, but they don't have the photo development. So when your phone's full, you got to start going through and say, which one can I get rid of? Which one, and that's tough. But yeah, just really, really super friendly, cool people. These weren't the only people that stopped to get our picture. On the way back to our vehicle, we were parked outside a little restaurant, and his wife came out and asked, could we get a picture with us? So then we kind of famous for a little bit, which was pretty fun. And so that's going to be it for today. We couldn't say enough about how thankful we were to the house that we came home to. So obviously while we were gone, the house is still there. But now we have cats and we got fish, and what do you do with that, right? So we had people that said, yes, we'll take your cats. Yes, we'll take the fish. Yes, we'll check in on your house. Mom and Papa were amazing in that. Like, we couldn't believe how much love went into our place. That's my brother-in-law, Ben, shoveling snow before we came home so that we wouldn't have to tromp through the snow in the middle. We didn't get home till about 11 at night. And we went from Guatemala to minus 30, by the way. I thought it would be spring for sure. It was not. And then I knew right away, like, obviously we didn't leave any food in the house because it would have gone bad. So then we're like, what are we going to do? It's 11 o'clock. We haven't eaten. We've been driving all day. And then we come home and our fridge is full of food. There's goodies on the counter. There's banners. There's signs. There's pictures. Like, yeah. And Rob and others, like, it was incredible how people came together to send us and to welcome us home. Like, if you're going to be a missionary person, the way to do it is the way our church sent us. Like, that was so amazing, and we can't say ever how grateful we are for all of that. One last thing that I would say about all this is we've been talking with Robbie and Brent some more about how we would like to do a Guatemala night where we could actually have some question and answer, and get so you can have a better understanding of what does the everyday look like and what are our goals and what does it look like in the future, because there is a future to come, right? This was step one. Can we go down there and live as a family? So it wasn't about the projects like it is when you're on a missions team. You want to feel effective. You want to see, these are the things that I can say I did while I was there. Look at the pictures. Look at the, like, we made a difference. This was more planting the seeds, right? Like, can we come alongside this couple? And is this a thing that we can take on as a family and not crumble at, right? Because it's not a small ask. It's actually quite a devotion, and presumably for the rest of your life, right? Like, how do you get into something like that and then eventually walk away? You don't. So, I mean, for us, our hearts are still a big yes. We're looking forward to taking the next step and seeing what that looks like with Rocky and Karen, and we know they are as well. We've talked about it before we left. And it doesn't mean that it's the decision is made and that our hearts are just free now to plan for the future. There's struggles still, and there's always going to be, like, can I do this with the family? And what's the education of my kids going to look like in the future? And these are all just things that you need to, when you're going on your own adventures and walking in the path that the Lord has called you to, there's always going to be those stones that you're going to stumble on. And you just have to realize, like, the devil's got some power too. And you got to be careful who you listen to. And even sometimes friends and family, right, will say things that feel like they're from the heart, and they are, but the devil can twist that and make fear grow inside of you. And if we would have listened to that, we never would have gone. And our entire future of our lives would be different. And it wouldn't be to the fulfillment of the calling of the Lord. And that's the main thing to understand about that, right? There's going to be hurdles. It's not always pretty. We're not perfect. It's not polished. And we're going to make mistakes. But if you're walking in the way of the Lord, you will be fulfilled in your heart. Not even at the end, but all the way along, right? And I think that's what we found. You can go ahead and say something about that.
Absolutely. That took longer than we thought. Is that okay if I keep going? Okay. I have a word that I would love to share with you guys. John's right. That was the adventure of a lifetime. And as we were preparing what to talk about, I really felt the Lord just impress on me a couple of words. I feel like he wants us to relax. So I just want to speak that over you. I bless you guys to relax in the season that you're in. So it was 10 years from the day when I was driving down the dirt road and the Lord spoke to me and said, hey, you want to go back to Guatemala with your family for the future? And it was 10 years that was stirring and building and growing inside of me. But I just wanted to encourage you guys to be in the season that you're in. Because if I had been frustrated about that or pining away or waiting or trying to push forward, Robbie and Sheila and Jessica Thiessen have watched me try and push forward in times when it wasn't time to move yet. And so I just want to encourage you guys, because I'm going to read you Habakkuk 2:3. A lot of us have ideas that God has planted in our hearts. And I think that God just really wants us to be encouraged this morning about waiting for his timing. He says in Habakkuk 2:3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." The revelation awaits an appointed time. So a lot of us are sitting on dreams and ideas and passions and plans and businesses and projects and things that we want to just push into being. But I want to just talk to you a little bit about Psalm 73. "So surely the Lord is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart." So I just want to, just for a minute, talk about the trust that it takes to wait on his timing. For God is good to Israel. Surely, 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 surely God is good to Israel for those who are pure in heart. So the thing that I get to do is just worry about being pure in heart, and that's my job. But as for me, my feet had almost slipped. I nearly lost my foothold. So as for me and my journey, I started looking around and seeing all the things that everybody else had and the way that they were living in their calling and their purpose. And I started to see some of the things that David noticed in Psalm 73. You'll listen to this here. He says, "I envied the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked." So sometimes I've found that there's been something that happens when I look around at what's not happening and I start to envy. I start to see what he's not doing. And my perspective shifts into a negative. "All day long I've been afflicted. Every morning brings new punishments." Do you think that's really true, that only punishments have come all day long for David? Every morning brings new punishments, and all day long I've been afflicted. And he starts to whine and to look at the things that are not going on around him and say, "God, I'm so in pain right now. God, everything is bothering me." But if I had spoken out like that, David says, I would have betrayed your children. So if I had spoken out in that perspective that I had that was really negative, if I had spoken out in that frustration, and I would have betrayed I would have portrayed the goodness of God, right? And to see what he has actually done. I think that some of us think that we need a safe place to whine, a safe place to vent, when God is telling us that you can come to him to just be your safe place. Yeah, aquí. So for 10 years, when I was looking around and wondering what is going on with Guatemala, are we supposed to go or are we not supposed to go? My heart, it says in verse 21, my heart was grieved and my spirit was embittered, and I was senseless and ignorant. I was a brute beast before you. Think about what it means to be a brute beast before God. I just think sometimes we can be a bit of a bull in a china shop when it comes to the things of the Spirit, right? It says to train your senses in the ways of the Lord. And so some of us need to spend more time in the sanctuary of God, because he goes on, I was senseless and ignorant. I was a brute beast before you. I was a bull in a china shop, Lord. I tried to push my ideas. I tried to push my plans. I tried to purchase tickets before I needed them. But I am always with you. You hold me by my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you'll take me into glory. Whom have I in heaven but you? And earth has nothing I desire but you, God. So more than the business that I want to start, more than the properties that I want to develop, more than the lists that I have on the back of my mind, more than the ministry that I want to start. The Lord is the one who is there, always with you, holding me by my right hand. If you guide me with your counsel, and afterwards will take me into glory. Who have I in heaven but you? It's you, God. It's you, it's you. As for me, it is good to be near God. I have made the sovereign Lord my refuge, and I will tell of all your deeds. I just love that it says, when my heart was grieved and my spirit was embittered, I was senseless and ignorant. But, where's that verse? Talks about when I entered the sanctuary of the Lord. Where is that one? When I tried to understand all this, when I tried to understand why are my dreams not happening right now? Why are this passion that you have put inside of me, why is it not something I'm looking at in the present? Why is it not time yet? And David says, till I entered the sanctuary of God, then I understood their final destiny. So when I tried to understand this, it troubled me deeply. But when I entered the sanctuary of God, I understood my final destiny. And then at the end, it says, and this is just David's journey in Psalm 73 is a lot like what we went through this past 10 years. But as for me, it is good to be near God. I have made the sovereign Lord my refuge. So my hiding place isn't an adventure that I get to go on, as much as I'm excited about it. But my hiding place is the refuge that I am in the Lord. And the very last line in Psalm 73, it says, I will tell of all your deeds. I just want to convey to you this conviction that I have that we will be able to tell of all his deeds. He's good for it. In the end, if you wait on his timing, 10 years later, I'm able to go and show my children the very first village that I was able to minister in. And yeah, baby. I just want to encourage you to wait on the Lord, because it is the Isaacs that we want, not Ishmaels, right? All these things that they come in the perfect timing. And he has made a season for everything. If it's a resting season, it's time to rest. If it's a planting season, we can actually be prepared for the building season. If we're ready for the building and we're wanting to be building, the Lord is saying, just rest, because there are things that you need to have for the building. I'm going to give you the seeds. I'm going to give you the relationship. I'm going to give you the intimacy that needs to come if you can wait in this moment. So I just wanted to encourage you with that. And thank you so much for listening to our story. That word that he gave me to relax about what season we're in and just enjoy what he's actually doing, to be in the season, because there is a season for everything. Yeah, I think there's a lot of us that he's calling into a relaxed season so that you can be built up into the builder that he's created you to be, and to be repressed no longer, to be free to expand, to roam, to follow wherever I may go. Thank you so much, you guys. Sorry.